For so long, if you had PKU, or phenylketonuria, managing it pretty much meant one thing, right? A super strict, lifelong diet. Well, that is changing, and it's changing fast. We're seeing this huge shift in how we think about treatment. It's not just one strategy anymore. It's more like having a whole toolkit. So yeah, let's dive in and see what's in it.
So you have to wonder, right? Especially if you're a patient or a caregiver, is that tough diet really the only option we have today? The answer is a huge, resounding no. And that's what we're going to get into here. We're going to break down all the powerful alternatives, both the ones available right now and what's coming just around the corner.
Okay, so here's the plan. We'll start with the why, the real-world challenges of that traditional diet. Then we'll look at therapies that kind of supercharge your body's own enzyme. After that, we'll check out treatments that just bypass that enzyme altogether. And finally, we'll get into the really futuristic stuff, the science that's trying to correct the genetic code itself. It really is all about building out that modern PKU toolkit.
All right, first things first, let's talk about the foundation of PKU management, as it's been for, well, a really long time. For more than 50 years, the diet was it. It was the cornerstone, the absolute go-to treatment. And look, it's done an incredible job saving countless people from serious neurological issues. But man, it comes with a pretty heavy burden.
Just to make sure we're all on the same page here, PKU, phenylketonuria, it's a rare genetic thing. Basically, your body can't break down this one amino acid called phenylalanine, or Phe for short. And why? Because a key enzyme called PAH is either missing or just not working right. So when that Phe builds up, it becomes toxic, especially to the brain.
So the classic solution has always been to just, well, not eat much Phe. You drastically limit it in your diet. But that's where the challenges really start. The medical foods, honestly, they don't always taste great. Your social life can take a huge hit. Imagine trying to eat out, and just the sheer monotony of it all can be draining. Not to mention the cost, and just how hard it is to stick with a regimen that strict for your entire life. It's a lot.
And that brings us to our first set of new tools, the stuff beyond the diet. Think of these therapies as giving your body's own engine a tune-up. So instead of just cutting back on the fuel, the Phe, these drugs actually help the enzyme you already have, even if it's only partially working, to do its job better.
This whole journey really kicked off back in 2007. That's when sapropterin got approved, and it was a total game changer, the very first drug for PKU. Now, fast forward almost 20 years, and the toolkit is about to get another upgrade. In 2025, we're expecting the approval of sapropterin, which is like the next generation of this kind of therapy, building on that same core idea.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting. The difference in how these two actually work. The first one, sapropterin, is basically a synthetic version of a helper molecule called BH4. But sapropterin, it's a natural precursor, which means it helps your body create more of its own BH4 right inside the cells. So it doesn't just boost the enzyme's activity, it also makes it more stable. And the really big deal, it seems to help some patients who didn't get much out of that first-gen drug.
But here's the catch with this whole tune-up idea. It's not for everyone. It only works for patients who still have some enzyme function left to, well, tune up. And that group makes up about a quarter to maybe half of everyone with PKU. But for those it does work for, wow, the impact is huge. Check this out. In the main clinical trial, sapropterin led to a massive 63% average drop in blood PHE levels. Just think about what that means for someone's day-to-day life. A whopping 97% of patients in that trial were able to eat more protein, to liberalize their diet. That's incredible.
Okay, so what about everyone else? The patients who don't respond to that first approach? Well, for them, we need a completely different strategy. It's not about tuning up the old engine anymore. The next tool in our kit is basically like installing a whole new engine.
This approach is called enzyme substitution therapy, and it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. We're giving the body a substitute enzyme, one that can do the job the body's own PAH enzyme can't. It literally creates a whole new metabolic pathway to get rid of that extra phenylalanine.
The specific drug here is called pegvaliase. It's approved for patients 12 and up who have those uncontrolled PHE levels. And its number one advantage is huge. It works no matter what your specific PKU genotype is. Why? Because it just bypasses your body's own broken enzyme system completely.
And this quote from the clinical guidelines, it really says it all. The goal isn't just to get Phe levels down while you're still on that tough diet. Nope. The goal is to control Phe levels while you get to normalize your diet. That's just a life-changing idea.
Of course, a tool this powerful has some serious trade-offs.
The upsides are enormous, right? The possibility of a normal diet is on the table, and it works for folks who can't use the other therapies. But it means daily shots under the skin. And, this is a big one, it has a boxed warning for anaphylaxis and other significant immune reactions, so it's something to weigh carefully.
So okay, we've talked about tuning up the engine, and we've talked about installing a brand new one. Now let's look ahead, to the future. We're talking about therapies that try to fix the problem right at the source by literally rewriting the body's genetic blueprint, a potentially permanent fix.
So how on earth does that even work? It's a pretty amazing process. Scientists take a harmless virus, it's called an AAV, and they basically use it like a tiny delivery truck. They load it up with a good working copy of that PAH gene. Then, that truck gets infused, it drives to the liver cells, and it drops off its cargo. From there, the liver cells have this new instruction manual, and they can start making the right enzyme all by themselves.
And believe it or not, this is not science fiction. These are real-world gene therapies that are in clinical trials with actual people right now. Now sure, some programs get paused or even stopped. That's just how research goes. But several others are pushing forward, which just shows you how much energy and hope is in this space.
And it's not even just about gene therapy. Scientists are looking at other cutting-edge ideas too. You've got mRNA therapies. Think of those as delivering temporary instructions for making the enzyme. And then there's the really advanced stuff like gene editing, which could one day go in and permanently fix the original typo in your DNA.
Okay, wow, we have covered a lot of ground. We've looked at 3 totally different ways to tackle this, each with its own smart approach. So now, let's pull it all together. Let's look at the whole modern PKU toolkit side by side.
And here it is, the whole landscape on one slide. You've still got the diet as the foundation, right, for everyone. Then you've got cofactor therapies, Kuvan and Cefians, that boost the enzyme for that 25 to 50% of people who can respond. Then there's enzyme substitution with Palynziq, providing that new enzyme for older patients with high Phe. And finally, you have the future, the genetic therapies that are still being investigated, all aiming to fix the root cause.
So, after all that incredible science, what's the one thing you really need to take away from all this? What's the big picture here?
It really boils down to this. First, PKU treatment is so much more than just diet now. We've got ways to tune up the enzyme that's already there. We've got ways to install a whole new engine. And we've got things on the horizon that could rewrite the blueprint for good. But the most important point is this. The future of PKU care is all about personalization. It's about finding the perfect tool from this amazing new toolkit for the right patient. And that really leaves us with one big, exciting question to think about. As this toolkit just keeps getting bigger and better with more and more specialized options, how is this new era of personalized medicine going to completely change what it means to live with PKU?